Welcome back to part 3 of the 3-part mini-series for Lab 8 of our 2020 lab, VMware Lab. So we're on the domain controller. That's where I'm doing this install. Normally you would do this on your desktop install. We went to, just Googled the SQL Server Management Studio, SSMS, and I downloaded it. So now, once I've downloaded it, let's install. What we're doing now is we need to have this tool. Now I double clicked on it. What normally you do is you right click run as administrator. You should always get into the habit of doing that when you install software, because then you're guaranteed it writes to the registry correctly. It does everything with the elevated account. Normally if you don't have admin rights, it's going to pop up with an account request to use a different account to do if you have to elevate, but because I am an administrator, it lets me do it. Run. Now this installer, last time I did it, I remember it took a while. See this, let's hope this goes right through quickly. So we want to leave it a default. Screen. And we need this just because we firing through pretty good actually. So we're running 18.5. I guess that's the newest version. Allow us to use SQL 2019. So again, this is your management tool. I would suggest that you don't run this on the server. Because when your administrators log onto the server to do it, loading this up adds load to the server. So the CPU jumps up because they use this tool on the server. You should never do that. You should always install it on your local PC. You're the administrator from your desktop. You can connect to the database from the desktop to do so. Or have a jump box do it. In this case, we're going to install it. Because my labs are very small, installing correctly. Here. There you go. So looks like it's 32-bit. Studio 18. So it's installing. Let it finish. And it's not so painful anymore. I remember last time I did an install, I think it was version 16. So here's the problem. I'm on a domain controller. I'm going to reboot. In this case, it's a demo lab, so I'm going to reboot it. If it was your PC, you would just normally no problems. I could have installed on the Windows 10 client, but I decided not to. This again, in a normal environment, you wouldn't install it on a domain controller. But I do recommend not running it on your SQL server. So you could, if you wanted to, be on your SQL server to put it, but I don't recommend it. Again, because if you put it on your SQL server, you're causing the load of the CPU, memory, everything get eaten up by that client. I see this a lot of times. Traders and vendors, they go onto servers and they install the tool on a SQL server, and then they complain because the performance is crap, especially running in a VM. They blame because the VM is allocated so many things, so many rights. You're not getting the full power of the machine, you're sharing it. So when you drive up the CPU on a VM that you shouldn't need to, this is what usually happens. So you usually don't install the SQL Server, SQL Studio. So and if you watch all my series of videos, I always seem to have problems logging in. So I find wireless keyboards seem to have this issue sometimes. I think there may be too much Bluetooth going on around my desk. I currently use Bluetooth headphones. It could be, I'm not sure. So anyway, we want to minimize this. We don't care about that because we rebooted. And let's go and look for SQL Studio Management 18. So let's open it. And now we need to know the name of our database, right? So as you see here. So let's find out Active Directory users and computers, and let's go to DNS as well. let's get all this information up so we have what it is. So we know the name of our SQL cluster is 2020 SQL cluster. We need to remember. It takes forever to load. Okay, so we need to know where that server is. So we have DNS name of the server is 2020 SQL cluster. Okay, Windows authentication. Because I'm logged on as a user that's been added to the domain, to the database server, I should be able to get right in. Now it might want the instance. If it does, we can always do that. Now I also finished off the last video of talking about how if you change the ports in SQL, this is trying to connect to it through a default port 1433. So let's see how this connects. Servers are up, okay. So cannot connect to SQL 2020 cluster. Well, that's because we don't know the name of it. So let's browse, see if our network server. My network is letting me find it. So let's go on the server itself. Let's find out where the cluster is. Done a number on that drive. Okay, so let's go to SQL and let's find out the name of this. So it's MSQL server, MSSQL server. See, back to the controller. Go. So there it is right there, cluster, right? Connect. Now this is where that firewall comes in. So right now it's firewalled. It should be allowing me port 1433. So if it fails again, jump ahead, disable the firewall temporarily, just to see if the firewall is the issue. Turn off the firewall. I don't recommend this in a production environment. Run a second server, we're doing the same thing. This will just confirm firewall is not the issue why we can't connect. So it says timeout. Okay. This could be the firewall. So let's connect now. There you go. See? So it was a firewall. So we're going to have to go in and actually put some rules to allow that connection. So as you see, I'm on the cluster. So watch this. So I'm going to have this open and I'm going to go to our cluster server and I'm going to fail it over. So roll on 2. We're going to fail it over. So move to 1. Technically it's down, right? I'm still able to click through it, right? Got a little wait time there, right? I could still connect to things. Now, if this was faster hardware, it wouldn't have any wait times. It would just be quick, 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 quick. It has a little bit of wait time because it is a local copy, but there you go. So I opened up everything. It's still connected, right? Refresh. It's, you know, it actually showed downtime because it was open, but normally with quick hardware, quick VM, remember I'm running shared on one machine, on a Windows 10 machine, so we're going to have some slowness, but it's the point of it is to see it does work, right? So I can get in, there's my account, database is there, and we connected to there, and notice how it's still connected. If we had been connected to host 1 and moved it to 2 and we said host 1, it would drop. It would say database doesn't exist. But because we failed it over, we're able to do it. So I mentioned earlier about the previous video, sorry, about changing the firewall ports. So let's go here. So we're on the node. What node are we on here? Man. Okay. So we're on node 1. So on node 1, let's open up the SQL. Let's go here to configuration. Let's change this 1433. Right? Change this 1433. Dynamic ports, 14,000. 14,500. Right? Take away this. Now, if you do that, what happens is when you open up your database, I'm not going to change it right now. When you go here, and let's say we close this, right? Close this. We open up SQL Studio again. Should remember your last connection. So if we had changed the port, what you have to do is you actually have to do this. So right now, 1433, right? I didn't change anything. I think I did. So 1433 is the port. So for some reason, we had to disable the firewall. I don't like the idea of why we had to do that. So let's go here. So there's usually a pile of ports we have to open. So let's go advanced. Inbound rules. 1433, right? So let's do both. Oh, it's UDP, but let's just do that. Now let's try doing the firewall. Go over to node 2 and do the same thing. So it really depends on what ports you're using and what ports you have open on the firewall. Again, in your test environment, yeah, see, I didn't put the firewall rules over here, so that was the problem. So let's go here. I remember doing it for the first one. So 1433, right? This one here we called TCP in SQL. Knew I did something from the last video. So port again, UDP 1434, default ports SQL. You want to put UDP in SQL. So there you go. So I'm going to go back to node 1, scratch that rule I put in. Firewall's enabled again. Right, TCP ports. We don't need 1434. We have 1433 open, 1434 open. Firewall is enabled on both. Now let's go back to here and try and connect. Let's never mind the 1433. Yeah. Connect. Gets right in. So that was the issue. So the good thing is continuing on this series is we can figure out issues that we have. So you have to make sure both nodes have that firewall rule. If you change the port, you need to change this rule. So that's how you do it. So when you're connecting from 1434 is required from when you connect to SSMS tool, so the SQL Studio tool. So that's how that connects. So because the firewall rule was missing on that server is why we had some original connection problem. So that's it. Very short video. Finish the series. 2019 server clustering, SQL 2019 clustering 2 nodes using SSMS tool installed on another host. We were able to connect to the database. So thank you very much for watching. See you next video. Like, subscribe if you wish to. Please comment any other video you would like me to show you in Windows 2019. These were just basic videos to get going to show you how to use iSCSI, SQL, set up a cluster, and get you basically up and running in a simple environment. There's obviously more advanced feature to this, but the whole idea is just to get you up and running, and you get into SQL and you do what you need to do. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next video.